Hello, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Wendy Ivy Martinez. I am a geek and I make videos all about books and things. And today, as we close off 2023, I'm going to be giving you my top 5 horror books that I read this year. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and jump right into it. So I have had a pretty good horror reading year. I only read about 20 horror books this year, but I still think that's pretty good, if I may say so myself, okay? So I'm going to be giving you my top 5. These are literally going to be categorized from 5 was my 5th favorite, number 4 is going to be my 4th favorite, and then all the way to 1 being my ultimate, hands down, I will read this again, amazing read. All right, so coming in at number 5, I have them stacked here along with other books. So coming in at number 5, we have Grady Hendrix's How to Sell a Haunted House. So a few months ago, I did this whole Grady Hendrix vlog where I read nothing but Grady Hendrix books to see if he was going to be the author that I expected him to be. I thought I was going to be absolutely obsessed with him. And of course, I had some hits and I had some misses, and this was definitely a hit for me. This book was so good. I listened to it on audio, and I listened to it in one sitting. Even though it was a 13-hour audiobook, I sat there and listened to the darn thing all day while I was cleaning and we were unpacking and moving. So that's what I was doing while I was listening to the audiobook. I was obsessed, okay? I was obsessed. I loved it so much. So in the story, if you guys don't know, we follow, our main character is Louise. So Louise finds out that her parents pass away and she has to go over to their house to basically start packing up her mom's stuff. And her good-for-nothing brother obviously does not really care about packing up the house. All he wants to do is sell the house. The only thing is that Louise's mom had an addiction to buying a lot of puppets and dolls because her mom was what are they called, ventriloquists? The people that make puppet shows. She did puppet shows for the church and stuff. That's what her mom did for a living. And so she became really obsessed with puppets, specifically one doll that she grew up with named Pupkin. And in this story, we follow this haunted house full of these crazy, creepy dolls that start moving on their own. And then Louise starts to realize that out of all the dolls, there's something really sinister going on with Pupkin. I ate this up, okay? Grady Hendrix always seems to put a very annoying character that you can't really handle in his books. And that was the brother for me. And even with that usually is something that turns me away from a book completely. But even with this annoying, infuriating character that does have redeemable qualities, don't get me wrong, this book was so good. The narrator, chef's kiss, perfect. Oh my gosh, everything was so good. Pupkin's voice gave me the chills. Oh my gosh, this book scared the bejeebers out of me. And when I tell you, my fiance went to take my kids to go get ice cream, and he didn't know that I was listening to a book about puppets, but he ends up putting a freaking mannequin head in my bed when I come into my room, and it scared the living bejeebas out of me. That added to the creepiness and the horror of this. It added to it all. So this book was really good, and it's coming in at number 5. Coming in at number 4, we have The Haunting of Ashburn House by Darcy Coates. Now, when I first read this, I didn't think that it was going to stick as much as it did, but after time passed on, and it's been months since I read this book, and I still can picture every single detail fresh in my mind, that's when I realized that this is going to be not only a 5-star read, but one that makes it to my top 5 books of the year for horror, especially because, I mean, it was amazing. This book was so good. It gave me chills when it needed to, but overall it was a very like cozy horror feel. Like, I don't know how to describe it. It wasn't over the top terrifying that if you are new to, like, that if you can't handle horror, you can't handle this. It's horror to a point where it's creepy. It can creep you out, but it's not terrifying. It's not downright gonna turn you away from the genre. It's not downright gory and bloody and disturbing. It's like a cozy chill down your spine. That's the only way that I can describe this book. But in the story, we follow Adrienne, and Adrienne doesn't make that much money, okay? Adrienne is struggling. She is a struggling writer. I think she writes like articles online and stuff, and she can barely make it. She has her cat, Wolfbane. Is it Wolfbane or Wolfgang? She has her cat named Wolf something. So her and her cat end up inheriting this house from her aunt that she didn't even know existed. So she inherits this house called Ashburn House, and it is in the middle of butt effing nowhere, in the middle of a tiny little town where everybody knows Ashburn House. Everybody knows her aunt. Her aunt was seen as this like woman that would not be seen in public. She liked to hide in her little house. She never went out. And so people think that Ashburn House is haunted and that something was wrong with her aunt and that her aunt was somehow tied to the house. And there's so many rumors about this house. Nobody even wants to step into this house because of how haunted it is. So we see Adrienne as she lives in this house, and she starts to really see that perhaps those rumors aren't just rumors and that there is some truth to it actually being haunted, but to what extent? It was really good. Okay, like I said, it gave the creep factor, it gave the chill factor, but it did have a very cozy feel to it, and the ending was so beautiful. Okay, the ending was so beautiful. It wasn't something that was like, that's gonna wreck you. It wasn't something that was like a disturbing ending like another book that I will be talking about. It's a book that really ends beautifully. You know, it has that like perfect, wrapped in a bow, happy, cozy ending. So if you're looking for a book that chills you, but not terrifies you, gives you the creeps and the heebie-jeebies, but not downright scares you, and that has a very nice ending, that doesn't have a disturbing ending, this is a horror book to go with. Okay, so speaking of disturbing endings, let's move on to the next book. Coming in at number 3, I have Tender is the Flesh by Agustina Bazterrica. This book messed me up. To tell you that I read this book in October. It's like 200 or something pages. I read this book in October, and I still do not want to read another horror book because I don't want to be put in this dark place again. Like, this book messed me up, okay? This book gave me nightmares. This book traumatized me. This book made me want to hang on to my dog for dear life. This book irked, disturbed, horrified me to the extreme. This is honestly the most disturbing book that I have ever read in my life. To tell you that days after this, I fell into like sort of a depression where I was just like staring at the wall, just thinking about how this could be real. To tell you how much this book really did bother me, I can't even explain it. And the fact that it hit me so hard, even though it's a very thin book and I read it in a matter of days, the way that it affected me so strongly, I knew that it had to be in my top 5. Even though I don't want to read another horror book right now at the moment, just because I don't want to be in that dark place, just because already mentally I'm not all there, I had to put this book in my top 5. If you guys don't know what this book is about, this book is basically a alternate Earth where all the animals get this virus, and even if your dog or cat licks you, you are going to be infected by this virus, and this virus is fatal. So there is a mass slaughtering of all the animals. That includes the cattle, the livestock, your pets even. They all gotta go. All those pets gotta go. Your dog, it's not making it. Your cat, Your bird, There's a mass slaughtering of all these animals, and it's horrifying. It's terrible. But because there is no more animals, there is a protein deficiency that needs to be met. So the government makes it legal for humans to be consumed. And they start growing these humans in these factories, and they're humans, but they're made into meat. And they don't want to call it human meat. They call it head, or they call it special meat. And we follow our main character who works at the slaughterhouse and the factory and his day-to-day life. And he one day gets gifted a woman, a tender meat, A-grade meat, live woman who's still alive, for him to either completely just off her and eat her entirely in a feast, or, as some people do, they keep humans in their freezer, or they keep them in a little room, and they'll start eating little pieces of them. It's so disturbing. Okay, it's so disturbing. There's this horrific scene that happens with puppies, and it just really messed me up so bad. Kids, obviously, and dogs really get to me. You know, like, having kids, and just I'm a dog lover. Like, I am a basic bee. Dogs are my favorite animal. They're angels. So to see all these horrible things happen to them really bugged me and really, like, messed me up. So that's this one. Coming in at number 2, we have Camp Damascus by Chuck Tingle, and this was a Hugo Award finalist. This book was so good because I loved the social commentary on gay conversion camps, on the LGBT plus community versus religious communities. I feel like it's a topic that really needs to be touched on more. The fact that there's still gay conversion camps, which is ridiculous, and this book really dives deep into those topics. In this book, we follow a girl whose name is Rose, and Rose is very faithful. She's very dedicated to her religion. Her and her parents pray religiously, okay? She's like so loyal, she's so dedicated, and she ends up following this girl around that she sees as her friend, and she has these very, like, special feelings for her, and to her she's like, she's just a special friend, you know, she's just a special friend, and I care about her a lot. But then Rose starts to see this demon out of the corner of her eye, and the demon ends up killing her friend. Why is it happening? And then things ensue from there. This talks again about gay conversion camps, and it's just so good. It's so good. I feel like everybody should read this book just because of the social commentary. Okay, coming in at number 1, we have Fantasticland by Mike Bockoven. I loved this book so much. This was such a unique concept to me. In this book, we basically follow a theme park named Fantasticland. And in this theme park, there is this hurricane that hits the theme park, right? And it's an emergency hurricane. And this theme park is like, think of it like Disneyland. Everybody knows this theme park. And one of the main roads, it's called the Golden Road, and it actually has like gold lining. So because this theme park is worth so much money, the leaders of the theme park, or the managers of, you know, everything behind the theme park, are like, okay, let's leave behind a few hundreds of employees to keep an eye on the park during the hurricane. They can, you know, stay in the storm shelter until the hurricane passes, and then within a few days, maximum like 72 hours, we're gonna come back and get them. Obviously, who usually works at theme parks? Teenagers and like young adults, right? So they all end up being like, heck yeah, extra money, and plus we get to eat at the buffet for free, and we just gotta stay, chillax, chill until the storm passes, and you guys are gonna come for us, but we get paid for all those hours? Heck yeah, I'll take it. Yeah, for sure. And they all end up staying. Day passes, and another day, and another day, and they realize they might not be getting the help that they need. So these children, as their resources and their sources start to become a little bit more scarce, they start to go a little crazy. They don't have their phones. They don't have social media to check, and they're downright bored and teenagers. So their boredom turns into something a lot more sinister, so that by the time that you find Fantasticland, there are bodies strung up across the theme park. There's dead bodies everywhere, and these children have turned into absolute monsters. What happened during that time? And in this book, we get exactly what happened throughout the whole, I think it's like 2 months that they were there. And this is not a spoiler. This is not a spoiler. It's like literally in the first chapter where you find out like all these horrible things that happened. And then you're just basically piecing the story together as it goes along. It's so good. Okay, like I don't even know. I don't even know. Like, it was such a unique concept. I loved to hear all these different perspectives, and that we literally got to see the whole park of its entirety. We got to see how these people handled it, and how these people handled it, and how the big bads handled it. It was so good. Like, I just loved getting all these POVs that literally covered everything. I've never gotten like such like a book that literally covers every single piece. It was like watching a documentary that's so disturbing, but you can't stop watching because it's so good. Anyways, you guys, that is it. These are the 5 books my top 5 horror books of 2023. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!